I froze to death last night.
You froze to death?
Yeah. Well, when I came home, like after I ate my dinner, like I turned my air conditioning down to 68. I've been doing that lately when I've been getting on the computer with people, so that I can then turn it off, and the air conditioner will not kick on because my air conditioner is fucking loud. The blower fan is so loud. So last night I fell asleep on the couch, and I woke up at whatever time I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was just like, why is it so cold in here? And the air conditioner is just going. I'm like, why is it so cold? It is too cold.
That's funny. I think I'm in the wrong business. We have a company that manages our email and stuff at work. They're our host, the email host, I suppose. They don't host a website, though. Maybe they host the website, too. Anyway, they came when we moved the server to the new location, and I set it up and hooked it up. I did all that, but they came and set up the IP parts of it. We have static IP addresses. They did the IP address. They put the firewall between the network and the building, and they moved some of the equipment and set some things up. We bought a universal power supply, so they set that up. He was in the building for 3 hours or so, and they billed us $800.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a good living.
That is a good living.
Yeah, I bet he probably didn't make all that money. It's probably the company, but still, that's a lot of money. And we have a service contract with them, and they still billed us $800.
Damn.
Sorry, just got that email.
No worries.
All right,
I got my Audacity up.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna start recording in 3, 2, 1, go. And there we go. This is the American. Let me start that again. This is the American Godscast. We're back to discuss episode 106, A Murder of Gods. My name is Mondo.
My name is Joe.
And yeah, episode 106, A Murder of Gods.
Well, they're not giving anything away with that title.
No, they're not.
Directed by Adam Kane.
Man, I say every week that how much I like this episode, and best episode ever. And I've got to say it again. I've got to say it again this week. But I think for different reasons that we're going to get into. But I think this may be my favorite episode of the season.
It was good.
They're doing a really good job altogether. It's there's been nothing about the show so far that is annoying me. Before we started recording, we talked briefly about Twin Peaks, and as much as I'm loving that, there are things that are annoying me, just like there are things that are annoying you about Twin Peaks. As good as it is, and as much as I'm enjoying it, I can't say that so far about American Gods. I'm not able to say that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been pretty steady and solid.
Yeah.
And this was a good episode. This was a good week too, and it was a different week, different than what we've had in other weeks too.
Yes.
Still good though.
It starts again with a coming to America, and we've got some immigrants at the border, at the Mexican border. They're coming to America. There were dandelions in the water.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I may be reading into it too much, but there's the whole thing with dandelions and Wednesday earlier on in the series. But I did make a note of that, the dandelions in the water, so I'm going to start looking for more dandelions as well. So they're crossing a river. I'm guessing the Rio Grande. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Yeah, me either, but you're probably right.
They wait until nightfall. The one woman tells them, because of the rains, it's going to be a little dangerous. So if you can't swim, stay behind.
Yeah, I was considering half of them had like water jugs tied to them, to empty water jugs to help them float. I was a little surprised that she even said that, but maybe it was, just for the story. It was important, right? Sort of.
I guess the guy could have potentially started to drown even without the warning.
Yeah.
But so that's what happens. As they're crossing, this one guy, he's the last one to go in the water. He seems a little nervous about the whole thing. And he doesn't quite make it. He starts sinking. And a hand reaches down into the water and pulls him out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been saved by Mexican Jesus.
Yes.
who walks on water.
Uh-huh.
And Mexican Jesus is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's typical. You had the long hair and the white robe.
Yeah, and
it's not like everyone saw him. He wasn't, hiding or ghostly.
Yeah, no, he was right there. And people start praying and stuff, and he's like, I'm Mexican Jesus, and that's when that's when some rogue. I don't want to call them Border Patrol agents. They weren't Border Patrol agents.
No, they weren't.
They were American citizens who patrol the border themselves, and are complete assholes because they immediately start shooting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really, and there's that whole dichotomy there. It's like all these people are praying to Jesus to get them across the border safely. And when they close in on these guys and their guns, they've got these, Christian tattoos. They've got crucifix tattoos and stuff. The one guy's rifle says, "Thy kingdom come."
Yep.
And of course, they shoot Jesus.
Yep, through the hands.
Yeah, they give him a stigmata with bullets.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and so are we supposed to think of this as sort of the same sort of sacrifice as the biblical crucifixion, but more modern day? I mean, because it mimicked the crucifixion, right? He fell down and he was in that sort of pose, and he's bleeding from the chest that kind of looked like the Sacred Heart.
Yep.
And then a tumbleweed kind of blew across his head and left behind like a crown of thorns.
Missed that. I saw the tumbleweed and I was just like, oh, sad tumbleweed. Holy shit, missed the crown of thorns.
Yes, it left behind a crown of thorns.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so I'm not, I mean, the way we're supposed, so all of these were supposed to be seeing the way that the old gods are kind of dealing with the new world, sort of, right? Most of these coming to Americas. But I don't know what this signified. Is this just signifying that the opposite of what we've been seeing so far? Is that sometimes the people just kill the gods, or was this some kind of sacrifice?
This might have been some kind of sacrifice. I mean, Jesus is his whole godhood, I guess maybe that's like religiously incorrect. Talking about it like this, I don't care. But his whole godhood is based on the fact that he sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
And there, even though a lot of these immigrants are killed, there is a family that isn't.
Yes. It's almost like they stop after Jesus goes down. They stop shooting.
Yeah, and it wasn't until just now talking about it with you. I mean, I maybe they're going to be okay. I kind of thought that like they weren't going to be, like we're just not going to get to witness their murder. Possibly because there was also a kid.
Yeah.
But maybe they're going to be okay now because of Christ's sacrifice, Mexican Jesus sacrifice.
Yeah, maybe. It's interesting. Did you notice that the bullet said Vulcan on the bottom of them?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, they were Vulcan brand bullets.
Yeah, we'll hear more about that later.
Yeah.
But that's very cool. I wonder if we're going to see Jesus again somehow.
Well, Wednesday did say that there were all sorts of Jesuses. I'm hoping we're going to see. I'm hoping we're going to see a bunch.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering. I can't remember the actor's name now. I want to say Jeremy Davies, but I think I'm wrong. But the dude from Lost, the bearded guy from Lost and from Saving Private Ryan. I know that he was cast as Jesus.
And that wasn't
him. So that was not him. I was half expecting it to be him when they pulled him up out of the water. I mean, he's not Hispanic, but I figured maybe they'd make him look Hispanic. And I was kind of curious, like, are they going to like put him in blackface to make him Black Jesus? Are they going to slant his eyes to make him, Asian Jesus? And I was thinking that would be in very poor taste. So I was happy that Mexican Jesus was not played by the same actor who's been cast as, I'm guessing, white Jesus.
Yeah, I agree. It was all in all, it was good and kind of intriguing and a lot of questions there.
Yeah,
which is why we do this.
Yes, and I am hoping we see a lot more Jesus, more than just the white Jesus. I'd like to see all sorts of Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Is that what
Jesus? Yes. The amazing Jesus. So we get back to Shadow and Wednesday, walking down the highway after the big thing at the police station that happened the week before with the New Gods and the tree.
Yeah, Shadow is definitely freaked.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck? And he tells Wednesday about, meeting his wife. Like, he's like, my wife was there and, back at the hotel.
Yeah, and Wednesday either acted or actually seemed surprised that maybe, I don't know if he didn't know or if he's pretending, but he did seem surprised because he stopped, right? And immediately went to the hotel,
Mm-hmm. Which has been wrecked.
Yeah.
And that was because of the fight between Laura and Matt Sweeney.
Yeah.
I still love that.
Yeah.
And we see the Ravens again.
Yep.
And it seems that they're still informing, Mr. Wednesday of things.
Right. And it seemed like this time they were informing him that Laura was around somewhere because they quickly got in the car and went away and he intentionally left her, made the radio loud and, so he saw her in the rearview mirror.
Yes. Yeah. Because she was running after them. And
yeah. I think the birds might have warned him.
Yep. Here comes Laura. So she's there and Matt Sweeney's there again.
Yeah, he comes back from the police.
Yeah. And
he wants his coin.
He does. But he's being a bit cooler. I mean, he got his ass kicked already.
Yeah. He knows he can't take it.
Mm-hmm. So he goes to steal a car. And Laura wants this one car, and he says, we can't take that car. I don't know how to steal that car. So he picks a taxi, a New York City taxi. And it's Salim's taxi.
Yeah.
which made me extremely happy. As he's stealing the car, he also talks about Christ and implying that they're friends, or that at least he knows Jesus Christ. And Laura's even like, did you just name drop Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
Because he also kind of suggests that, like, if it's resurrection she's looking for, that's the kind of, that's the person maybe to see.
Yeah, and he implies that they could actually maybe get her resurrected. Maybe he's just bullshitting her because he wants his coin, but that's what he seems to be using to be able to at least be able to travel with her for a while. Because he wants to stay by her, I think.
But so yeah, so Salim basically is like, "Why are you stealing my taxi?"
Please do not steal my taxi, I think is what he says.
Yes. And he asks him what he is, and he tells him he's a leprechaun.
No one ever believes him when he says that.
No.
Even people who've met a djinn doesn't believe that he's a leprechaun.
Right. Traditionally, leprechauns, I guess, don't look like Mad Sweeney.
I guess not.
That's something they covered in the novel briefly, without being a spoiler. Mad Sweeney talks about like how it's stereotyping.
I love everything with Mad Sweeney.
Yes, Mad Sweeney is not my favorite character, but he's up there. He's good.
He is.
He's a lot of fun, and I really like the interactions between him and Laura. Which is one of the things that makes this episode, my favorite so far.
Yeah, they had some good. I don't know if you call them debates, conversations. Very good. Dialogue is generally good, and I don't know. I don't know if Gaiman is writing a lot of it, because a lot of this is not from books, not from the book.
Right. Yeah, and this episode definitely marks. I've said it a few times how it's like, we're straying out of the book. This is out of book territory. Mm-hmm. This episode is, aside from like a line or two, there's nothing in this episode I can think of off the top of my head that is from the original novel. Like nothing. And we can talk about more of that in the spoiler part, but nothing from this is from the original novel. But we get back to Wednesday and Shadow, and Shadow is in a lot of pain. He's bleeding from his from the tree thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday's talking about charms, like he's got all sorts of charms he knows. And he mentions about how, like, in prison, like some of those guys, like, they take their shivs and they smear their shit on them to, like, to make the wound, extra bad. And that's basically what Shadow has, is he has a shitty shiv wound. And there's something moving inside of Shadow. So they stop, and
he says he needs more light.
Yeah.
So they go in the front of the car by the headlights.
And Mr. Wednesday starts reaching around inside of Shadow, and he pulls out this like roots tree thing.
Yeah, it sort of seemed like tree roots.
Yeah.
He sort of tells a story while he's doing it about gods sacrificing the trees, I think, or people sacrificing the trees.
Yeah, well, at first, trees were like amongst the first gods. Like he says something along the lines of, man has always had a mind with a hole where God should be, or where they want a god, and trees were the first thing to fill that hole. And so I'm gonna call the tree thing Mr. Wood.
Cool.
Because there's a parallel in the novel to a Mr. Wood, also known as Woody, and definitely not portrayed in this way. And he says that eventually, like wood became something else. Manufactured because it turned into a chair. I don't know. But we kind of get a little more clarity on this a little later, and it matches up with some stuff that had happened last week. He also, when they're after he takes this thing out of Shadow, he mentions something along the lines of, like, the fear of gods. Gods need to be feared, and the fear of gods requires using something fucked up. Like, you need to You got to be fucked up if you want to be feared or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And we get back to we cut again over to Salim, Mad Sweeney, and Laura. And I got in my notes here that I'm so happy that we have more Salim.
Yeah, he's very good.
He is. He talks about how he was scared of New York. He runs through a whole litany of things in New York that scared him. And that is one of the few things that was from the book, was his little speech about things that scared him in New York. It was just a character description in the book. Like, Salim was scared of New York. He was scared of this. He was scared of that. But this time he actually says it.
The look that Mad Sweeney gave when he said someone had shit in the back of the car once.
Yeah.
It was just he just looked around back there. That was just great.
He was looking for this shit.
And then Mad Sweeney falls. They talked about prayers for a while.
Yeah, they talk about assholes. Fuck those assholes.
Yeah. And Mad Sweeney goes to sleep, and she kind of steers them in a different direction on the road, right?
Yeah, she steers them back towards Indiana.
Right.
Yeah, about the fuck those assholes thing. At one point when Sweeney says it to Salim, fuck those assholes, I kind of got the feeling that he was being a dick.
Yeah, like tongue in cheek.
Yeah, exactly. Like, like he knew Salim was gay. Mm-hmm. So when he was saying like fuck those assholes, he was being a douche.
Yeah, I agree. I caught that too.
Yeah, so Laura talks about she's never going to see her mom again. Thank Christ for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said, she steers the car towards Indiana. When they're talking about prayers and stuff, Salim mentions the fact that he that he doesn't pray for things to disappear or anything like that. He prays to thank God, not for things, but for life and everything else. That's what he prays for. And he's also looking for the jinn. He says that the jinn is his afterlife.
Yeah, he's trying to change his life.
Yeah.
Looking for his new life. And then they keep driving.
Yep.
And then come on, get happy.
Yeah, come on, get happy. We get another scene shift. To the tune of the Partridge Family's Come On, Get Happy, there is a factory making bullets.
Spewing a lot of smoke.
Yeah, a lot of smoke. It's there's big vats of molten steel.
Mm-hmm.
Come On, Get Happy is playing. And the people seem pretty happy to be working there. This one guy, he's a boss. His mug says world's best boss. World's greatest boss.
Mm-hmm.
He seems pretty happy up until the moment he leans on a loose railing and falls into a vat of molten metal.
Yep.
Which continues to get processed. We see the rest of the processing, how it gets poured into bullets, and the bullets get pushed into the shells, and they're getting rolled around and stuff.
Yep. We see the bullets have Vulcan stamped on the bottom of them.
Yes. So Wednesday and Shadow arrive. And Wednesday mentions that this is the town that Vulcan built. It's Vulcan, Virginia.
Yeah, there's people in town all have guns.
Yes.
And some of them are wearing like Nazi-style armbands.
Yeah, with the Vulcan emblem on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how this is their America. This is their version of America, this gun-toting. It's very politically charged.
It is. The whole episode is. I mean, it's just
and very racist too. Like, I feel like not that the episode was racist, but I feel that the people in town, I mean, everybody was white. And, it's not just because everybody in town was white that I feel like there was this racist feeling. It's something that I think they put into the episode. The way that people looked at Shadow. I mean, it wasn't just the way they looked at like, the strangers in town. I mean, I really felt it was a shadow thing.
Yeah.
And there's some things that happened a little later that kind of like, validated my feeling about it. But so they're all a bunch of gun-toting folks, and they are having the reason there's not a lot of people visible in town at first, and we see them later with the armbands, is they're having some sort of memorial service for the guy that fell into the vat. And that's when we hear I Put a Spell on You, and we see Corbin Burnson.
Yes.
He plays Vulcan, and he's the owner of the Vulcan bullet making factory, and
he seems happy to see. He seems happy to see Wednesday. Maybe the first God we've seen so far that actually seems happy to see Wednesday.
Yeah. All these people shoot into the air at the end of the little sermon or whatever.
At that moment, I wrote down, when you shoot in the air, what happens to all those bullets?
Yeah. And we find out a really cool visual, like all the bullets like reaching like, the top of their parabolic arc at the same time, and then just like falling back to Earth.
Yeah.
And Shadow's like in the car, and they just start literally hailing down. Like there's dents in the car's hood and stuff. But Wednesday also, he's preparing to give Vulcan a bottle of Soma, he calls it. He's got this weird bottle, and he said it's going to be worth it. Vulcan calls Mr. Wednesday Grimnir, Glad o' War. Again, two other names of Odin. And he says, so it's true, like, you're going to war. And
do you know what Soma is, by the way?
I
was curious what Soma is. I looked it up.
Oh, I suppose we can talk about it in the non-spoilery section. In the book, it was concentrated prayer.
The actual definition is it's a fermented juice drink which is believed to have been consumed by the Hindu gods and their ancient priests, thought to be an elixir that not only healed illness but brought great riches. Soma is personified by the god of the same name, who is also the god of sacrifices.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
The god Soma. It's interesting.
That is interesting. We get another scene switch. We get back to our other road trippers, Salim, Laura, and Mad Sweeney. And they go to Jack's Crocodile Bar.
Yeah, that first scene we see Laura, she's looking kind of worse.
Yeah, she is. And Mad Sweeney suggests that she should cover up,
Yeah.
And she's like, are you trying to shame me? I have no shame. And he basically tells her, he's like, she mentions the fact that, like, she kissed Shadow and she felt her heartbeat. And he says, Mad Sweeney tells her that to him, you're already dead. Like, that kiss ended any doubts. He tasted death on your lips. Your tongue was all cold. He's Wednesday's man now. And you've basically lost him. And
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I get why he's doing that. He wants her to not want to continue to live the way she is because he wants his coin back. But I hope she fucking blows him off.
Yes.
He's being a dick. I like him, but he's being a dick. He uses that line about anal sex, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, he's like, why do men like anal sex when women don't? And she says she does.
She does, yeah.
And I felt that was another dig at Salim as well.
Yeah, probably.
Who I love. I love Salim. I'm so happy that he is, he's with the group. Back to Vulcan, Virginia. Wednesday is outside Vulcan's house. They're having some dinner. They're having some drinks and stuff. And a noose falls out of the tree.
Yeah.
And Vulcan says, tree noose, you like it?
Yeah, they talk about. He says that. I think either he says it or Wednesday says it's an old hanging tree.
Yeah.
And they see us. They also see a satellite fly past.
Yeah. Vulcan says something about how people love to be watched. It's something, I guess maybe like about security. Maybe he's talking about like the NSA or something. Yeah, and they see that satellite Wednesday.
Or maybe he's actually talking about the new gods.
Right. Which we're sure at this point are watching. After last episode's reveal.
Yeah.
They go inside Vulcan's house. He's a big game hunter. There's all sorts of like big game sitting around. He even shoots at some of the dead animals he has in his house.
Yes. He's given a bunch of speeches about sacrifice and.
Yeah, and he suggested Mr. Wednesday could even sacrifice himself. He could do it again. And Wednesday says that it had once opened the world to him, but that's closed now. And he does not accept Wednesday's soma. Wednesday offers him the soma. And he says something along the lines of like, I don't need that. I've got plenty of my own. I got all this like faith here. I franchise my faith. Basically everyone that is killed by one of his bullets is a sacrifice to Vulcan. He's the god Vulcan. If we haven't made that clear.
Yeah. He's filled with prayers in his name, he says.
Yep. And all of these people have a volcano in the palm of their hand. So every time someone gets shot, it's like throwing someone into a volcano in sacrifice to Vulcan.
Yeah.
God bless the believers. Oh, he also has shadow. He's like, you ever see a hanging shadow?
Yeah, he's really kind of Needling's shadow there.
Yeah, which is like, kind of makes me think that he knows about the hanging. From the technical boys, and it also makes me feel more, just showing him the noose, and it just makes me feel like this is supposed to be. I'm not saying all white Americans are gun-toting racists, but I think this is supposed to be gun-toting racist white America.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's definitely a feeling I got from this episode, and. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. And then Wednesday asks him to forge him a blade.
Yeah. He also asked him to come with him to Wisconsin.
Yeah, he says, I was already on that bus before you painted it yellow.
Yeah. So Vulcan is going to make him a blade worthy of a god.
Yeah. Then we switch over to Laura, who's looks like peering in her parents' house window. Which was she looked really creepy in that window there, by the way.
Yeah,
just kind of peering in.
And it seems like they can't they can't see her. Oh, yeah. Before that, we get a little bit of an exchange between Wednesday and Shadow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, do you trust him? And he says, I know who he is, who he's been. And Shadow even says, like, he knew I was lynched. It's all fuck you. Well, it's all fuck you. That's in my notes. I don't know if anyone said that or if that was just like my feelings on it. And Wednesday says, you're distracted. This whole Laura thing, you've lost her twice. And he tells him to close your eyes. Can you see her? Where is she? And that's when we see Laura outside of
right. Okay, that's why that happened in the middle of this sort of scene with Vulcan.
Right.
I remember now.
Yeah, and he says, like, I see her outside of her mom's house. She's at the window. They can't see her. And Mr. Wednesday says, can you let her fade away? And, at first I wasn't sure if the scene was supposed to be metaphorical. Like,
maybe she's not really there.
Right.
We did talk about her parents in the cab earlier.
Right. But then we see when we actually cut to them, she is outside the house. And she's like, fuck these assholes.
Yeah.
And then we see the blade being forged.
Yeah, it's really quick.
Yeah. I guess when you're the god of, when you're Vulcan.
I guess so.
And it's a really cool blade. It's a really cool, wicked-looking, kick-ass Viking blade. And he tells him, he says, you should have a gun. But then he says, like, sacrifices, blood spilled by bullets. And he wants to know, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why are you going to war with these people? And Wednesday says that he wants to make sure that everybody gets theirs. Like, Vulcan's getting his now. He's been upgraded. And, he just wants to make sure all the gods are getting their fair share of sacrifice, of worship.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday's just like, did you tell them we were here? And like, there's a minute pause, and then Vulcan's like, yep. And he's like, are they coming? And he's like, yes. And he's like, you sold us out.
He doesn't seem necessarily surprised, though.
No, he doesn't. He says that, like, the new gods are the tide, their gravity. They put a gun in my hand, and every bullet fired in a movie theater makes the people pray harder. So he's getting, like, prayers from, like, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And then Wednesday says to him, like, you pledged allegiance to me, and you forged a blade, and they killed you for it. And before we can even understand what he means by they killed you for it, Wednesday cuts off motherfucker's head. Which was awesome. Shadow freaks out again. Poor Shadow.
He does. He just keeps freaking out. I mean, you'd think he'd be used to most of this by now, but I guess not.
I guess, like, there's always something new. I guess that was probably the last thing he expected was Mr. Wednesday to literally cut someone's head off.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, I wrote down that Wednesday looked very pleased and sort of powerful when he did it.
Yeah.
It was a powerful moment, powerful shot.
Yeah, Vulcan falls into the volcano, the big vat of molten, metal.
Yeah, and we get to see the forges again making more bullets out of the steel.
Yeah, but first Wednesday pisses in it.
Yeah, that's right.
And he says he's laying down a curse. And I like to think of this as a Chekhov's gun here. We are going to see some sort of result of Wednesday's curse on these bullets at some point.
Yeah, I bet that. It's like they call that a shit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It'll come to me. The MacGuffin? No, MacGuffin is like a mislead, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or just like a thing that ties a story together. It doesn't necessarily have to be, an important thing to the story. But I think we're definitely going to see these bullets again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's going to go wrong. Something's going to go wrong. We go back to our other three characters. They're pulled along the side of the road. Salim is praying towards Mecca. Laura's being bothered by flies. Actually, she doesn't seem bothered.
No.
The flies are bothering Laura, but she doesn't seem bothered by the flies. Salim says, Allahu Akbar, God is great. Laura kind of agrees. She says, life is great. And end of the episode.
Yeah, Sweeney just kind of watches. He's just kind of sitting around.
Yeah.
Didn't take the opportunity to be a dick, which he does often.
Man, this episode, once again, I have to say, this is the best one yet. Things I really liked about this episode are I like the split up now. We've got two teams of road trippers.
Yeah.
And I really like the chemistry between Laura Mad Sweeney and Salim. I think Salim makes their chemistry better.
Yeah, it wraps them together, sort of.
Yeah. They're both assholes. And they've got this this fierceness and this, they're just shitty fucking people. And I kind of get the feeling that Salim kind of makes them, not less shitty, but still better.
What does she tell Sweeney she's going to do to him if he calls her a cunt again?
Oh,
I don't remember.
I don't remember exactly
it was
what
funny.
she said. Yeah.
She said something.
Damn, I
You're
should have
right.
written it down.
You're right. They're both assholes, and he kind of tones them down.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that they stick together for as long as they work well together. I think the grouping works really well together. Ricky Whittle and Ian McShane are still just fucking awesome. I'm still not totally convinced about Shadow's continual shock at
it's definitely different than we're used to from Shadow. Not to talk about the book much, but
right. But I mean, I think he's seen enough now that he needs to stop being so shocked. But like I said, I mean, things do seem to be ramping up, and so it's shit just seems to be getting worse. Maybe he needs to sleep. I don't know how much sleep he's gotten since all this shit started. Yeah. Maybe after he gets a nice nap, he'll start to come to terms with it.
Maybe.
Like last week we talked about how, even after seeing his dead wife, kissing his dead wife, he was shocked that Marilyn Monroe was floating.
A lot. He mentioned it again this episode in the beginning.
Yes, he did. He did mention floating Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
He's been attacked by a tree that left some sort of shitty shiv root system in him. And, he's still, he was completely shocked at but again, the beheading of Vulcan was pretty shocking, even if you are seeing some other weird shit.
Yeah.
He didn't freak out when that noose just kind of dropped out of that tree naturally.
No, he just maybe it freaked him out, but he didn't flip out. Just kind of
right. I think it pissed him off more than anything. He's pissed off, and he felt that Vulcan was fucking with him.
Yeah, I agree.
Which Vulcan was, because like I said, that was white, racist, fucking gun-toting America. Which is not to say that once again, I don't want to say that all white Americans are gun-toting racists. They're not.
Yeah, they're not.
But some of them are. That's true. We are white Americans. Not gun-toting.
No.
Not racists. But yeah. But some people are. And these people, they definitely were. I think if they had an opportunity to lynch Shadow, they would have.
Definitely.
Or they just would have shot him because they love their guns.
They do. They do love their guns.
They do love their guns. There was that old woman in the wheelchair. She had that gun.
Kids had guns.
Everybody had guns. Oh, man.
Yeah. Definitely a commentary on things, too.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of commentary on current state America.
Yeah, I think Trump has a lot of these Hollywood types agitated. I mean, even Doctor Who this week was about fake news.
Yeah, it was.
Supergirl's been about fake news in some points of this season. I mean, it's everywhere.
And you think we're going to see some fake news from media?
I don't know. I mean, that's her thing, right?
Yeah. I was thinking a little bit more about media yesterday while I was in the shower. Not in a gross way. But I was kind of wondering, like, how tied in media is to the technical boy. Just based on like media is now, it's almost all internet based.
Yeah.
Um, and I realize, this isn't like necessarily a spoiler for the book, but in the book, the only way we really saw her as media was when she was I Love Lucy. I mean, we do see her again, and she talks, and she talks about like the things she can do for Shadow and such, being media.
Mm-hmm.
But they did an awesome thing here, with showing us. We've seen media 3 times. The first time we saw her is I Love Lucy, straight out of the book, classic golden age television. The second time we see her, she's David Bowie, totally different type of media. It's the music medium.
Yes.
And then as Marilyn Monroe, we're talking like, this is like movie star. I mean, granted, most people only see these movies on television anymore. Nobody's going to go see a Marilyn Monroe movie in a theater now. But that was her aspect, as a movie, media, the movie. So I think, as much as I really want to see Scully, media as Agent Scully on the television, I think it's likely we're going to see more of media in other media things. And I thought that was also good because it takes her away from being too closely tied to the technical boy. Because that was one of the things I was wondering when I was in the shower, was because my mind wandered, was how close will she be tied in, since like all media is now basically internet. We're moving away from over the air broadcasts. I mean, even I have cable. I watch everything on the internet, including my cable. I watch cable over the internet, including live cable. But like, I have a Spectrum app on my Roku that lets me watch my shows. I tell it what shows I want to watch, and it's got my little watch list because everything's on demand. So I was kind of wondering, like, how, if in this today's modern times, like if media would be almost beholden to the technical boy, who seems to be very internet. And then I realized, no, not necessarily, because media is a lot more than just like television.
Yeah, you're right. And she was, when we saw her last week, she was definitely more on the Mr. World's side of things than technical boy. She was. I don't want to say she was as annoyed with him as Mr. World was, because she was just kind of on the peripheral of it. But she was definitely working for Mr. World and not working for Technical Boy. So I think you're right. I think she'll show up in other kinds of media moving forward.
Yeah. And internet, Technical Boy, who I still feel is very internet. I mean, would the internet as important and huge today if it wasn't for the fact that, like, we are now streaming media on it? Internet might actually be more dependent on media now than it was, when the novel was first written, and when, I mean, it used to be, email, bulletin boards, websites, this whole thing with like everything, everything being available on the internet. I mean, that's fairly recent. It doesn't seem that way, because it seems like it's been that way forever, but it really has not been.
No, you're right. I mean, Netflix, which has probably been around the longest in this kind of way. That's what makes it, why it feels long to me, I think, because I've had Netflix for so long.
Right.
But the others are new, and over the top is new.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, I've had Netflix for like a really long time too. Do you remember it was about getting DVDs, and then, there were some shows you could stream. You could stream like the A-Team.
Yeah.
And like, Buck Rogers. I used to watch Buck Rogers sometimes on Netflix, just because I thought it was funny to watch Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, at the post office, I work for the post office, for those of you listeners who don't know. When I first started working there 4 years ago, we had a separate like a separate place when the carriers would bring the mail back. We had a separate little area for the Netflix discs. Those had to be separated out, and we would get a ton of them. We would get so many Netflix discs. I don't see any anymore. Nobody is getting discs from Netflix anymore. We see the occasional one, which is now it's I think DVD.com. It's still the same company, but they split.
Yeah, they branched off.
But I mean, it used to be like they'd be bringing back tons of Netflix movies all the time. Now there's almost none.
Yeah, they were very smart about it.
Yeah,
I mean, calling it Quick Store was probably stupid that time. Remember when they did that? But
yeah, I didn't until you mentioned it. But as soon as you mentioned it,
they backpedaled away from that pretty quickly. But the switching from discs, they were pretty far ahead of the curve there.
Yeah, and now they're huge.
Mm-hmm. And it's like when I remember talking to my dad, like 10 years ago, and saying one day there's going to be giant hard drives somewhere, and everyone's going to be able to like watch shows from stream, start shows whenever they want, and pause them and come back to them whenever they want, because they're getting their own copy of that show that they're watching from over the internet. And it was before any of that ever happened. It was just an idea that since I read so much geeky news stuff, but
right.
I remember talking about how that was what was going to happen eventually, and it's totally happening.
Yeah, this is one of the few times where they promised us flying cars and delivered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think before we get into the spoilery stuff, you've been listening to the American Godscast. We've been talking about episode 106, A Murder of Gods, because obviously there was a murder of a god. You can find this podcast over at AmericanGodscast.net. You can download it on the iTunes or any podcatcher that you currently use. You can follow me on Twitter at DharmaBob.
I'm Joey.
And you can talk to both of us at the same time at Not the Show. And we've also got a little Facebook page. We don't do much there, but it's a good way to know when episodes have been published. Over on Facebook at American Gods or American Gods Cast. Facebook.com/American Godscast. Thanks for listening, folks. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, go away. Okay, spoilers. Not really a lot.
No, there's not. As we get further into the show, there's less and less in this section. Although we can guess at things, and that we have to do in this section. Like, do you actually think he's going to end up at the funeral home at some point, or you think that that's not going to happen anymore?
I honestly don't know.
I mean, it seems like they've gone
last week.
Although, because Laura was there, right? So I feel like they're moving away from there and not towards there.
Yeah, I mean, the funeral home, I felt a shadow stay at the funeral home, I don't think was very important.
No.
I thought it was awesome. I liked that whole part of the book, but it wasn't important. His stay in Lakeside, I feel that kind of has to happen.
Okay.
Although, I mean, I don't even know if the way this seems to be heading, I'm not even sure how necessary that's going to be to the series. It was definitely a necessary part of the book, especially towards the end, the whole tie-up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, this whole episode was, aside from things that Salim was scared of in New York, none of this is from the book. Vulcan was not in the book.
I thought Corbin Burnson did a really good job.
Fuck yeah.
He was great.
He was. God, he got old.
The last thing I remember seeing him in was Psych. Psych. He played the dad. Oh, yeah,
Psych. He was the dad.
He played the dad in Psych.
And he just looked like an older version of himself from Major League.
Yes.
Here he looks really old, and I don't want to say decrepit. That's almost mean. But I mean, craggy, maybe. I'm going to say craggy. He looks old and craggy.
It's a good word.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of a limp. I probably should have mentioned that pre-spoilers. I thought that was good because Vulcan, the god Vulcan, does limp. He had, a stumpy leg or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
But he was really good. But yeah, all of this is completely new material. It's uncharted. Um, Salim doesn't get mentioned in the book after he sleeps with the Jinn again, aside from like a fleeting moment where they don't even actually mention him, but it's implied that he's driving the cab that gets crushed by like a crane or something, or like a crane drops an I-beam on a cab. And I felt that the idea of that in the book was that like the Jinn got out of getting killed by swapping places with Salim. So it's like they were watching Salim instead of the Jinn. And, when they decided to off the Jinn, they really wound up offing Salim, and the Jinn was off doing whatever. I love the fact that Salim is, I can't say it often enough, man. I love Salim on the road with Laura and Matt Sweeney.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good change. They've all been good changes so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked his character so much when we were first introduced to him. Like, I was kind of sad that we wouldn't be seeing more of Salim. I was hoping we would, but I was thinking, like, if they stick close enough to the book, there's no place for him.
Yeah.
But they've made a place for him because they've gone completely off the page, which is great.
Yeah, in a good way, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, this is not Game of Thrones type stuff where it's like, for the first bunch of seasons, I knew everything that was going to happen. There were very little surprises the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, because even though they did do some stuff differently, everything still had to kind of like match the books. I mean, I guess it didn't have to, but it did, because George Martin hasn't stopped writing them. He's still working on them, so they can't really go too far off book. Otherwise, they may end up at a completely different place, like too far. And I know that they're not trying to stick to it, like, biblically here. But I mean, I wasn't surprised when Ned died. I wasn't surprised when anybody died. I knew it was all happening.
Yeah.
Man, anything can happen at this point on American Gods.
It's true.
I have no idea what's going to happen next. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I don't watch the coming up next week's. So I have no. Yeah, maybe there wasn't one. I definitely didn't see it.
No, there was one. I don't think I paid close attention to it. I think I was too busy writing stuff down in my notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was a little cool, when I watched it, there was a little cool thing after the episode 2 about like with Brian Fuller and some other guy. I think they were basically just talking about white racist America and the bullets. I don't remember too many specifics from it, but I think that's what they were getting at, is like that's just where a lot of America's mindset is now. And yeah. And so I guess that's basically what they were offering Wednesday with that Odin satellite. They were giving them the same deal that Vulcan obviously took.
Yeah.
They were like, join us. Instead of like having you be a Volcano Smith guy, we'll give you fucking bullets. Those cursed bullets are going to come back to haunt somebody, man.
Oh, yeah, they have to.
Man.
The not a MacGuffin.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be good. I'm not sure how, but I'm sure it'll be in there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think I have anything else, you?
No, me either. And like I said, I mean, there's not really a lot of like book spoilery stuff aside to say the fact that there's no book spoilery stuff because it was so far off book.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll roundabout to places we recognize and things we'll have to talk about that were in the book. So maybe next week there'll be a longer spoil the book section. 2
episodes left for this season.
Cool. Well, that's not a lot at all.
That's not a lot at all. This 8 episode season is painful.
Yeah, it's a killer.
What are you gonna do? Hopefully, we won't have to wait longer than a year for the next season. Hopefully, it's not going to be like a Game of Thrones, which is. It's been over a year since the last season at this point.
Yeah, and they're giving us like a short season this season too.
Yeah,
like 2 short.
And they're saying it's even going to be a longer time between seasons till the next season, which is going to be even shorter than this one.
Yeah, it's torture.
But I can definitely see that American Gods, what they're doing, I can see where they're going to be able to. I don't want to say drag it out, where they're going to be able to extend it for a while if they want to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places they seem to be going, a lot of places they can go. So I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, it has been so far, and I'm looking forward to the last couple.
Yeah. And we'll talk about those. We'll talk about next week's episode next week. Hopefully we won't be as late as we were this week. Things happen, man.
It's life.
Yep. Again, you can find us over at AmericanGodscast.net. Find us on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a favorable review. That would be awesome. You can also find us on the SoundCloud. The links for finding us anywhere will be on AmericanGodscast.net. You can find me on the Twitters at Dharma Bob.
I'm at Joey.
And you can follow the both of us together on at Not The Show. And you can check out nottheshow.com, where we are definitely going to be doing an episode soon. We have to talk about some Twin Peaks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The next, hopefully before the next 2 weeks, but I guess we'll have a little more time to talk about stuff after this season of American Gods is over.
Yeah, we'll have a hole to fill.
Yes. If Matt Sweeney said that, I would take that the wrong way. Everybody, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Good night.
And I've stopped recording.
Yeah. Bite the bullet, baby.
But yeah, it's oh man, that Twin Peaks. I don't fucking know.
What episode is this?
Episode 14. Or 14.6. Since episode 14 of the podcast, but episode 6 of the show.
Yeah.
New folder. I might need to start looking for something else as far as work goes. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
My job's really starting to grind on me, man. It's really starting to grind my gears.
That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it just might be temporary malaise. Well, I don't know. I still like a lot of parts of the job. I still don't like working on the window. I don't like the guy who's in charge of the window. Some of the fucking people I work with now are just so fucking useless. It makes me sick. And I don't even care if they're useless, but it's like, it's like, I guess they feel that, like, since they're going to hide for like half of the shift on fucking Saturday, because they don't feel like working, it's like they come to me and explain to me why they feel like justified in not fucking working. And I'm just like, motherfucker, just, if you want to fucking hide in the break room or go out back and smoke cigarettes until it's time for you to go home because nobody's watching you, then fucking do it. Don't fucking talk to me, man. I'm here to fucking work. And it's not even because I have a work ethic. It's because, like, how can you sit around, like, trying to avoid work for like half of your fucking day? That makes the day drag.
Sure does.
I bust my ass just because it makes my day go quicker. If my day went quicker because I wasn't doing anything, I might feel differently. But, like, I'm busting my ass so I can just look at the clock and it'll be time to go.
Yeah.
But don't come to me and start telling me, well, nobody else does anything, so I feel like I'm justified not to. Man, get away from me. Well, I'm worried you won't have anything to do this afternoon if I work. Get the fuck away from me.
Wow, that's not the thing to say.
Right. It's mostly this one guy that says that shit. Everybody else, they just don't work. And I'm fine with that. It's like, whatever, man. You know, that's just, you know, maybe you've been with the post office for 20 years and you're fucking tired. All right, man, I get that. But if they start explaining it to me, I'd be mad. Don't get in my face and tell me why you're not working. Hate that shit. I don't know. So I've been thinking that maybe I should go back to school and get some IT shit or something.
Yeah.
And go into IT at the post office.
That's cool.
Because, you know, the retirement would be good.
Yeah, and you keep your whatever benefits and stuff you've been paying into.
Yeah. I don't know how many positions are open and stuff like that. I took a look. A lot of the stuff is like really advanced kind of stuff that's open right now. That may change, of course, by the time I get some like, you know, certifications and stuff. But then it also means potentially like having a desk job again, and I really don't want to have a desk job again ever. I like that's why I hate the window. I hate the window because I'm standing there talking to people like, you know, hi, stamps for you. I like working in the back, and I like, you know, the last 2 hours of my day during the week are the best because the window closes and I go in the back and I work and it feels good and my feet hurt. And I go home and it feels good to go home and feel like I did something.
That's cool though.
Also because desk made me like really, really, really fucking fat for like quite a while.
I texted you the file. I mean,
cool.
All right, I think I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit this